It's Sunday, May 21st, 2023. A lot to talk about today. Make sure to like this video, share this video, make sure you subscribe to this channel, hit that bell notification down below. But let's get right into what's happening. We have some very, very serious things developing, and I want to share with you this first article from CNBC today. Hard choices will need to be made about which bills go unpaid if the debt ceiling is not raised, Janet Yellen says. Comment down below. Is there a possibility that we could actually default on our debt? I believe, personally, I don't think it's going to happen, but every day that goes by that this is not resolved, there is a higher and higher, greater risk that we do default. Is it possible? Absolutely. It is 100% possible. Do I think it will happen? No. But there is a potential that it could happen. And again, every day that this is not resolved, we are risking the chance that we could default on our debt. A default could lead to an economic downturn, it says here, as bad as the Great Recession, with 8 million Americans losing their jobs and the stock market value falling by 45%, according to the White House Council of Economic Advisors. Pretty concerning. $10 trillion, it says, in household wealth would be evaporated. My question today on this hot Sunday afternoon is, are you prepared to deal with an emergency like this? They said, I was reading a week ago that mortgage rates would climb to 22% literally overnight. So we would see an economic collapse. The real estate market would collapse overnight. Everything would just come to a standstill. And think about how many people are dependent on the government sending them checks so they can buy food. SNAP and WIC. Think about all these government organizations, subsidies that depend on money. And this whole thing could seize up. And that means there are going to be people out there that don't eat if we do not get this resolved here soon. Here's one from The Hedge. Debt ceiling negotiations crumble. Again, this is becoming a little bit more concerning. And it's almost like, does somebody up there want the U.S. to default? You can't put anything past the politicians now. Anything is possible. Here we are in 2023. Anything is possible. If they can shut the entire global economy down, they can shut the U.S. economy down, we can certainly default on our debt. It is possible. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I do know that we need to continue preparing. And this is why I've been making these videos for so many years. And just a few things behind me. And here's a bag. This was vacuum packed. This is probably about 5 pounds of rice here, vacuum packed. Stuff like this, extremely cheap to buy. You vacuum seal a couple pounds of rice. Here's a MYLAR bag of powdered whole milk right here. Also very, very cheap. These are things that everybody needs to be acquiring right now. Many of you have been doing this for years. I'm not the biggest prepper in the world, but I would probably estimate that my family probably has a good year and a half of food between canned food, emergency food, food that's freeze dried or in Mylar bags or in vacuum sealed food, things like that. Here's another great thing right here. You can have just some of this instant coffee right here. This will last a couple years. In fact, I read that it can last up to 20 years depending how you store it. But this is just stuff you can go buy today at a Walmart. You can go buy at a grocery store, some discount grocer. You can go buy rice. You can buy beans. You can buy powdered milk. You can buy instant coffee. You can buy canned food. You can do things like that. Also, you can go to the dollar store. You can buy this stuff. It's cheap. Here's something that's going to be a little bit more expensive. This is a 4-day emergency food supply from This is from Mountain House right here. We've had this for probably a couple years. And this stuff's not the cheapest, but this food tastes really, really good. But so important to have some of this stuff. So we kind of do a little bit of everything. We kind of store some of our own food, rice, beans, the coffees, things of that nature, and then buy emergency food, buy canned food, put water away, have some water filtration systems. For Patriot Supply, probably about a year ago when we got an order, they sent this with an order. This was included. It's a sun kettle. You can boil water without fuel or flames. Never used it, never tried it. If you have, let us know how that worked for you. But having a couple jet boils, so very, very important. So you can heat up the food quickly. In a couple minutes, you've got a meal. In a couple minutes, you've got a cup of coffee. So these things are so important because we're reading more and more that we're not too close from an agreement on this debt ceiling situation, and heaven forbid they don't come to an agreement and America defaults on its debt. We are going to see economic chaos throughout this country, and of course that is going to produce a lot of social chaos, because that means people aren't getting their money, they're not getting their food, and people are going to be very, very angry. People are going to be very, very hungry, and you better have security, ladies and gentlemen. You better have food. You better have water. And again, there's so many different ways you can do this. You can go buy 100 pounds of rice, 100 pounds of beans, store this stuff, go buy the instant coffees, go buy the canned food, buy the emergency food, Mountain House, for Patriot Supply. There's probably 100 different food companies you can buy from. And look, I'm not getting paid by any of these companies to promote any of this. I'm just sharing with you what we're doing, what I think every responsible American should be doing, especially if you have kids. Heaven forbid there's a natural disaster, or we see a man-made disaster, a financial disaster. You can't get to the store because it's very, very chaotic, or the store shelves are wiped out. These are the times you do not want to be going out. These are the times you want to hunker down and just have your own food reserves. You don't have to leave the house. It's much safer. So these are the things I've been talking about for years. And I think it's so important. And, I know people want me to share it. Look, what I'm doing, not the biggest prepper in the world, but again, we do have at least a year and a half of food here. We have plenty of security. I've got food at multiple locations. I've got food over at the storage facility. We got food here. We got food at another place. So we've got food everywhere. So it's nice to be able to do that, so we don't have everything sitting in one place. But I've moved a lot of stuff over to the storage facility. It's climate controlled, so we have stuff over there if we needed to get to that. We have stuff here. We have stuff at another location. So we feel pretty good about that. So again, just reading the news this morning, and I think they're going to meet later on today, or they're meeting right now, and they're going to meet Monday. So we're going to see if this gets resolved. But no matter what happens, more than likely it gets resolved. But that means the spending's not going to stop. And that means we're going to see more inflation. We're going to see less purchasing power with the US dollar. At some point, the spending has got to stop, ladies and gentlemen. The problem is nobody wants to feel the pain. They just want to keep kicking the can down the road here and keep spending trillions and trillions of dollars. There's so many people in need right now here in this country, and we're sending billions of dollars over to other countries around the world. It's very, very, really insulting to the American people what is taking place. Very insulting. But I just wanted to chat a little bit today about this and how important it is. I don't think we talk enough about it, about having food preparations. If you live in an area where you can grow a garden, you can raise some cattle, that's wonderful. That's my goal, to get to the South, have a nice garden, have cattle, have some pigs, have some chickens, and be as self-sufficient as possible. But I know the average person is not going to be living on a ranch or a farm. I understand that. Many people live in apartments, they live in condos, they live in houses that are built 10 feet from their neighbor. And so there's no room to grow. Maybe, if you live out here, it's 105 degrees today, and next month it'll be 110 degrees, and we'll have our days of 120 plus. You cannot grow things out here in the desert. Very, very difficult. So what you can do is you can go buy 10, 20 pounds, 30 pounds of rice. You can go buy 20, 30 pounds of beans. You can go buy the instant coffees. You can buy the powdered milk. You can buy the emergency foods. You can buy canned foods. Just doing nothing is going to guarantee that you lose and that you're going to be very, very hungry and very, very desperate, because at some point, something is going to break, ladies and gentlemen. And right now, we're in a stable time. As bad as you may think it is, we'll look back and think this was a very, very stable time. But at some point, it's going to break, and we're going to see things get, I think, very, very bad. And right now, we have a lot of people in this country who are not getting enough food, whose kids are not eating enough food. Imagine if the government subsidies stop, the checks stop, what's going to happen? We hear more and more about food shortages. We hear more and more about how long the lines are getting at the food pantries. This is not heading in a positive direction by any stretch of the imagination. You all know that. So you have to ask yourself, do you have enough put away? Are you prepared enough? Personally, I'm guilty. I don't think I'm prepared enough. I think I could probably add a little bit to everything. And I think we all get a little bit complacent at times. But again, I would say we have a year and a half of food for everybody in my family. But is that enough? You have to think, what if, what if your neighbors need a little help? What if your friends need a little help? What if some family members need a little help? And that's another thing too. Are you going to answer the door? Are you going to help? Do you put a little bit away to help those people? And if you do help those people, is that inviting trouble? I think that we're at a point where everybody has been warned. Everybody now is going to have to worry about themselves and their own families. That's a decision you all have to make. If you're going to help other people, friends, family, you're going to answer the door. But, remember, when you let people in and they're eating your calories and they know that you have food, you run the risk of trouble. So these are all things we need to be thinking about right now. Do we have enough food? Is a year and a half food supply enough? I think for us, it probably is. Do you have enough security to protect the food and water? That's another big question a lot of people do not want to confront themselves with, is what are they going to do if somebody knocks at that door and decides to knock that door down and then decide to take everything you have and leave you and your family starving? So these are all things we really have to be thinking about. And this afternoon, I was just looking at some of the supplies. And look, I feel guilty. It's only a year and a half. I feel like maybe we should have 2 years, 3 years. Do we have enough? I would definitely say water. Water is probably our biggest issue. We probably need more water, but we're in a transition here. I'm already packing up the house. I'm already moving stuff over to the storage facility. I'm moving some of the food over to the storage facility. So for us, I don't think we're going to take on add any more until we get to the new house. And hopefully that will be at some point this summer. Because when you're moving 2,000 miles, this stuff takes up a lot of room and a lot of space, especially a year and a half of food. So I don't think we're going to add much more to it. And then when we get to the new property, we will start adding cattle, chickens, fish, and have a nice garden. So I just want to share a little bit with all of you. Also, medical kits, first aid kits, trauma kits. Make sure you have the propane canisters, propane tanks, matches, firewood, charcoal, things of that, so you can cook food, warm up your food, boil water. Just all these little things. Comment down below about what you're adding to your preparations right now, and where do you think this is all going to go? Are they going to allow us to default? I don't think so, but there is a greater and greater chance every day that goes by that we don't reach an agreement. And if we do reach an agreement, what is it really going to cost us? What's the price we're really going to pay? Because that means we're going to be spending trillions of more dollars. More inflation, more destruction to the currency. This is going to end bad, ladies and gentlemen. And it's not the end of the world. I know a lot of people out there like to say this is the end. It's the end of the world. It's over, but it's not. It's going to change. There's going to definitely be a new world out there. It's going to change. Money's going to change hands. There's going to be new money. I'm sure we're going to see gold being the real money. There's going to be a new world reserve currency, or world reserve currencies, plural. But things are going to change. They're not going to be like they were. And you need to be ready to evolve and adapt to these changes. As much as we like it or we don't like it, the world's not going to come to an end. It's going to continue, but it's going to change immensely. And you have to be able to adapt. And the people who cannot adapt, who cannot evolve, who cannot move quickly, they're going to have trouble. They really are. The people that just don't have skills, they're going to have trouble. And the people that don't have assets, the people who don't have money put away, the people that don't have the food and water put away, they're going to have big trouble. They really, really are. So as I leave you today, go take $10 or $20 and just go buy a little bit of canned food today. I don't think you'll regret it. And just imagine, we still, which we don't talk about either, is grid attacks, cyber attacks. I mean, think about if the power went down in your area for 1 week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks. What would you do? What if your little plastic cards weren't working? What if your bank was closed? How would you eat? How would your family eat? So if you were to take maybe $1,000 and go buy some emergency food, go buy some canned foods, go buy 10, 20 pounds of rice. I like the rice and the beans because you can add that to the emergency food if you need to. I think the meals here are about a little over 1,500, not in the Mountain House one, but for Patriot Supply. Those are, I think, about 1,505 calories a day. That's not enough. So if you need a little bit more calories, a little bit more carbs, you can add the rice, you can add the beans, you can add a little bit of canned food if you want to throw like a little ravioli, a little pasta in there. That's going to give you the extra calories, the extra carbs. So those things will complement the emergency food. So, these are just things I was thinking about today that I want to share with all of you. Please comment down below, share your thoughts, how you're preparing, what you could add. If you had $100 today, what would you recommend that we buy with $100 today for preparations? That I would like to know. If somebody has $100 today, what do you recommend they go out and buy? Emergency food, canned food, rice, beans, coffees, propane, brass, whatever. What should somebody buy with $100 today? I'd love to know the answer to that. And just some other things that you may be thinking about that are outside of the box that we could be adding. And look, there's probably 1,000 things that I didn't mention today, but this is just stuff off the top of my head. Love to know your thoughts on that, what you're adding to your preparations. And, what do you say to the people who are not doing this right now? I think that they're taking a huge risk by not having security, by not having food and water, by not having some cash put away, by not having some gold or some silver. I think they're running an incredible risk here because I think we're at a very vulnerable and fragile time in U.S. history, economically and geopolitically. There's so much going on, and tomorrow's going to tell us, I think, a lot of where we're at with these meetings regarding the debt ceiling, and nobody really knows. But I would not be shocked if we did default, that this would be purposely done, that we did default. It would not shock me. It would not surprise me. And if it happened, all hell will break loose. So there is the potential of that happening. All hell could break loose, ladies and gentlemen. And the question is today, are you prepared for all hell to break loose? I'm pretty prepared. Nobody is going to be 100% prepared. Anybody that tells you that they're 100% prepared, they are absolutely lying to you. They have no idea what they're talking about. There's no way you can be 100% prepared for this. It is going to be spiritual. It is going to be mental. It is going to be financial. It is going to be physical. It's going to be social. And nobody can prepare for everything. But you can put the odds in your favor, and you can cover as many bases that you can. But just think about the things you would see if we saw a complete economic meltdown take place because of this. People have no idea the pain and suffering that they would witness, the PTSD that they would have. People just in this country have gotten very soft. They are not prepared to deal with pain. They're certainly not prepared to see people starving. They're not prepared to see the type of violence that they would see. Nobody's prepared for this. So you better get ready, and you better get in a mindset that you're going to probably see some really bad things taking place. You're going to see a lot of pain and despair in this country. The pain is coming no matter what. We're going to come to the end of the line one way or another, because we're either going to just completely implode with all the money printing, or we're just going to default one way or the other. At some point, this is all going to come to an end, and there's going to be a price to pay, and there's going to be extreme pain. So be ready. This will at least soften the blow, soften the impact a bit, but nobody can prepare 100%. All you can do is put the odds in your favor, cover as many bases, do the best that you can, and you will get through this. But nobody can be 100% prepared for what is going to happen, because there's so much that is going to happen, and so many unexpected events will take place, so many things economically, politically, socially, physically. Nobody can prepare for this, but you can put the odds in your favor. So as I leave you today, ladies and gentlemen, prepare for all hell to break loose.